Hey guys, how's everything going? This is JSer. So in this video, it's about CSS again. Okay, so it's about Flexbox. Okay, I'm reading this document on MDN. I think it explains everything pretty well. So let's begin. Okay, so first it's called the CSS box alignment. It's some spec focusing on the box alignment, including the table layout, block layout, flexbox, and a grid. And this document is a brief introduction to the box layout, and then we will jump into the detailed explanation of the flexbox. Okay, so while there's some history about this box alignment and it's still evolving, okay, let's skip that. So the first idea is this is some key concept here. The first one is the axis. For Flexbox, we always hear about the main axis, right? Main axis and cross axis. So it's also called the inline axis or block axis. Inline, well, inline block the text, right, from left to right. Well, it depends on the writing mode. But for English, it should be from left to right. This is inline axis or main axis. And the cross axis is vertical. So, yeah. So when we are aligning the items on the inline axis, we need to use define the alignment with the justify. So this is the tricky part. I always mess up with which is justify, which is align, but it doesn't matter. When you get confused, you just look up through the reference and you will get the job done. But you must remember that there are differences between these properties. And for Flexbox, there's a flex direction, right? We use row or column. Row means we flow here, column means flow down. Well, for this part, I like flutter better. Flutter means the main axis for row main axis and the cross main alignment and the cross alignment for a row component or column component, which is pretty much easier to understand. Okay, so this is the axis. And then we need to align the items, right? So there will be a container, which the box align will work, and the items within this container will be called the items, right? The subject alignment subject. Okay, for subject we could. Okay, for the container we have some overall general settings for the alignment, like the default value for these items, and for each item we could adjust the alignment by themselves, like a justify self or align self. This is the basic example. Let's take this is a big example for the grid. I haven't used grid before, so this grid, and the align item start. This attribute is property is the same as Flexbox align items, which means the vertically, right, start. So this will be at close to the border, and except that the first child will be set to center, so this one is set to center. You see the space here is the same. If you remove it, start, and we should say end. Yeah, this is it. So this is grid, and for Flexbox, we will jump to grid later. This video is about Flexbox, so this is Flexbox, which I'm familiar to. Okay, if you remove the align self-center, okay, it should be aligned to the start, right? This is, you see the space here is distributed evenly, so space between, if you use around, it should be something like this, you know, the space 2, 2, 1, 1. Okay, space between. Usually we would align the items to the center, right? Align items center. It should be center. Yeah, we could align this or this baseline. No, there's no baseline. Center, flex start. Flex bottom. Flex end. Or we could stretch up the height to the full height. So that will be stretch. Yeah. And display Flexbox. This is for blocks. It is also inline flex. It's still working. So this is for inline block, inline block and block, inline flex versus flex. Okay, so for the first child, we could align self, adjust the align self. We could say flex a star. Okay, so this is a basic example. Let's jump straight to types of alignment. Okay, so this is basic axis and alignment. There were 3 types of alignment: positional alignment, like center, start, which to define which point it is close to, right? Like here, close to the start, close to the center, close to the bottom, the end. So this is positional. And there's one baseline alignment. I'm not familiar with this. This should be working in grid. Let's jump into later. And this is a distributed alignment, which is stretch, space between. Yeah, this relative values, like we're setting here. The space between, right? Yeah. Okay, this is called basement alignment and distributed alignment. This is it. Overflow. Gaps between boxes. Actually, I didn't know this before. Okay, I'll jump. This is for grid. This is an example in the Flexbox. So let's jump to the Flexbox. This example we are trying just before, right? Okay, first let's just say the default. What the default looks like. Okay, this is actually the default. So first we stretch them out with the space between. It becomes less, and align them into the center. This is start. We center, and first child we align them to the top. So we would be the flex start. So this is what we want basically. There are some key points I want to address. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, so justify content. The axis is what we explained. We can change the columns to direction to column, and we could do the same, right? A flex direction, I'm sorry, and so we could just space between. It's already full. Okay, let's set the height to 500 pixel. Now you see space between, so we could just change the direction. Okay, there's no justify self in Flexbox. Justify self we will run into it in grid layout. There's no justify self in Flexbox because the space was distributed to all the items. There will be no such thing as grid, and for each one you can align here, right? You can only for the row axis, for inline flex. No, for this direction, you could only align yourself vertically, right? So that is controlled by align, not by justify. So there's no justify self in Flexbox. So this is a tricky part I didn't know before. The auto margins. Let's say default is this, right? Default would be something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you want add the margin left auto to fourth element, it will absorb the space. Margin auto, it will absorb the space and place it at left and right. So you know why we use margin auto will align an item into the center, right? In a div, in a normal div without a Flexbox. So this is how it works. Wow, it's pretty cool. So this margin, if we add it to the 3, what will happen? You see, the space was distributed for these 2 items and the 1, 2, 1. If we apply all the items with the class push, it will actually generate the effect of what? Space around, right? This is just what the space around does. Cool. So this is something new I learned today. And if you don't want the margin auto and only place with left, you can create some space like this. Flex. Wow, it's pretty cool, right? Another thing is gap. I also didn't know this before. And for the column gap, and the row gap, column gap could be used to define the space between these items. Let's say, I would say the if I want to add some space, fixed space between these items, I would use margin, like div, margin left, 10 pixel. And the first item, I don't want the margin, right? So I would say plus div. Yeah, I can set 10 pixel. Actually, this is totally the same if we do what? If we set, this is row, so the space would be column, right? So the column gap set to 10 pixel. Wow, cool. Pretty cool, right? So what's the use for the row gap? Well, this is only one row, so row gap doesn't work. It's 10 pixel doesn't work. So what's this for? This is for, because for Flexbox there might be multiple rows. Let's say let's set the width for each item. Div width 100 pixel. And the flex shrink 0. 200? Wait a minute. Flex shrink 0. And we need to add flex wrap. Not work? Div. Oh, something wrong here. You see, if you don't add the flex wrap, it will be overflow, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will be shrinked. And in order to create the overflow, we add flex shrink 0, so it will be overflow. And this is, we could add overflow here with auto. Now it will be, okay, scrolling, right? You see this fantastic scrolling. And now if we add flex wrap, okay, it will be multiple row. Cool. How good is that? Okay, you see now this is where the row gap works, right? For multiple, we can add the row gap to 10 pixel. Now it's kind of working like a grid, right? I think we could use Flexbox to create some fallback for grid system. And now this is okay. Let's change to okay. Let's change to 5 pixel. Great. Maybe 100 is good. Okay, this is much easier to understand. We change it to 2. Yeah. So this is it. Okay, we don't set the height yet. Okay, let's set the first child with height 30 pixel. First child okay, align. Oh, I forgot align self. We should start. Flex start. Oh, wait a minute. The width, the height actually is distributed evenly, right? Because the height is not set, let's set the height 400 pixel. You see all the other items are stretched out, but the first one is aligned to the start, right? if we align self to center, what would it be? It will be like center here, just like what the grid does, right? Okay, so let's align all the items to self to center. Yeah, something like this. Great. Let's just start. I need to change this bigger. Oh, okay. So this is the basic for Flexbox. Let's jump right to all the references here. Justify content. Wow. Define the items in the main axis. What the space will be. So this should be here, right? Okay. Row column gap. Justify content. Space around. Let's use around. Okay. So now the spaces are used around 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, right? This is what it does. And align items, as we already tried, it will be, okay, align items here. Oh no, here. Align items center. Yeah, this is centered. 1, 2, 1, right? We okay, we can remove this. This is the default value for all of them, right? If we align them with stretch, it will take up all the space. And the flex start, it will cling to the top border. This is what the align item does. And also this align content. This is a little trickier. Align content like say if you wanna, okay, we align item center here. The space will be 1, 2, 1, right? Vertically. What if we want to be 1, 1, 1? Well, that's hard because actually what we want is justify items space between, right? Space between, and apply it in no, space evenly. Space evenly with a vertical direction. So actually that would be align content. For multiple row, align content space evenly. Yeah, 1, 1, 1. So align content is for multiple row for Flexbox. It should be work together. It should work together with flex wrap. Okay. Column gap, as we said, is defining the space along the main axis. Place item. I didn't know this. Place items. What it is? Place item is shorthand for at once. Align items and justify items. Well, justify items doesn't work for Flexbox, so I think we could ignore it. Gap is a shorthand for row gap and column gap. And the place content. Place content is shorthand for align content and justify content. Well, it's so yeah. Justify content, align content, place content. I don't think I will use these two. It's difficult to remember. I prefer set the private separately. Align self. We use align items to set the default value. We could change alter the aligned items for the specific item with align self. Yeah. Justify items doesn't work for Flexbox. Row gap, yeah. So this is all about Flexbox. I think it's a little hard to remember, but it's after we realize that it's all about main axis and cross axis, it's not that difficult to understand. So we could use this properties to create a layout we want. Yeah. So that's it. Anything else? There's actually a flex property. Wait a minute. I want to talk about the flex shrink. Actually, there's a flex shrink. Where is it? This is for alignment. I'm sorry. Flex. Okay, CSS reference. Oh yeah, here. Flex basis, flex direction, flex flow, flex grow, flex shrink, flex wrap. Flex wrap already done. It's for multi-row. This is no wrap, wrap reverse. Nothing special. Flex shrink is I want to talk, and flex flex is for shorthand for flex grow and flex shrink, flex basis. So okay, let's jump to the flex basis and flex grow and flex shrink first. Actually, I prefer define them separately. So let's first define the flex grow. Okay, so this is the items, right? So there are extra space here. We say the flex grow one set empty, empty, this one empty. So this is the default layout. Now there's extra space, so we could use the justify items to set them to align them, but also we could grow the items to take up the space, right? So we could define, okay, so the first item, I say please grow. Okay, I'll grow with 1. You see, it will take up the space. The other two won't. If you want to say, okay, all these 3 items take up the space evenly, then we could add them with flex grow, set them to the same value. 1. So the space will be applied to them evenly, which means the extra space, not the total space, the extra space. Now we say see the width for each item, 1877, 177, that's one is 177, right? Because we set the basis. Okay, if we set the basis to 0, so this is a default. It actually have different width, you see? Even we apply the same width. It means the items will have their own width, but the space which they don't take up will be divided evenly, apply plus be added to the item. So they will not be the same width. How could you, if we want to keep them same width, it's easy. We just set the width to 0. Yeah, you see, now this is 177, 177, 177. Oh, but it said width 0 is a little weird, right? We could just set the basis to 0. So this will be used to, we could have the width differently, like 200, 300 pixel. But this flex basis 0 will be used when we calculate the space. So now all the items will have the same width. Well, this is what flex basis is for. We set the initial width to calculate the flex grow. Okay, if we want the second one to grow, absorb more spaces than the other ones, we just set it to 2. It will be 2 times wider than the other spaces, right? Okay, so this is flex grow. I think already explains what is flex basis. Okay, this is 0. Flex base 200. Okay. Flex grow it. And now, let's say what the shrink does. If we don't grow it, we don't have the shrink, we don't have the basis, and we just have the width of 400. You see, no matter what the width you set, it will always be 177. Why? Because default, it will be shrinked. Flex shrink. Default is 1. Flex grow, while the default it's 0. So it will not default to grow, but it will default to shrink. For this container, right? Well, this is weird. If set the mean height, will it shrink? Let's try. Mean width. Okay, if we set mean width, it will not shrink. So yeah, CSS is complicated. Okay, so now here's the case of overflow, right? Oh, okay, we could just say add the flex wrap to add a new line to them. Yeah. Mean width is 400 pixel. Now, what if we could ask the second one to shrink? Only the first one. On the first one, keeping the width. We say we could say mean width 400 pixel. We add it, but this. Oh, okay, not wing width, but width. They will shrink, but the first one we add the flex shrink 0. So say, okay, it shouldn't shrink. Cool. You see, the first one is not shrinked, but the second two are shrinked. If all not shrinked, it's the overflow case, right? Yeah, we could add the overflow here, auto, and we can scroll it. Cool. So remember, flex grow is to absorb how we can distribute the extra space the items haven't taken up yet, and flex shrink is to define how the items would shrink if there's not enough space. Flex spaces is used to define is to help we decide how to distribute the space or shrink the items. This is flex grow, flex shrink. Flex direction is a row or column. Yeah, this nothing. Flex flow. A flex flow is okay. Flex flow is a these are some tricky here. It's flow, I'm sorry. There's a flow actually flex. If you use flex 1, it actually means what it means. It means flex 1. Yeah, 1 value syntax. It means 0. A flex grow. A flex shrink is assumed to be 1 and flex spaces to 0. Remember. So if you say flex 1, it means the grow with 1, but the shrink is also set to 1, and the base is set to 0. There are also a lot of patterns here. I don't remember this one, so I would suggest that you set them separately. Okay, so this is for all about Flexbox. Hope it helps. Actually, I learned a lot of new things in this video. So yeah, so for this CSS reference, last time we have come to the pseudo elements here. Now align content, align items, align self is already done. And next time I will take some time on the grid system, a grid layout. Stay tuned. Bye bye.